Good morning, and happy Tuesday from the farm. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Outside the Soil, where I get to talk about the topics related to the farmers and ranchers that use hydroponic practices to grow the crops and creatures we need to eat. And I am your host, Sean Short. Thank you for being with us on this beautiful morning. Out here, just listening to some chicken chatter while I check on their frozen water and watch them scratch and peck. While I'm out here in the morning, I always want to just jump in and give them some treats, but I have to be mindful that we've got a working operation and someone's going to come in and take care of the chicken and do those chores later. But as I watch them peck and I look on the ground, what I don't see are any sprouts on the ground. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about those sprouts and what it is that I do. I feed a barley sunflower mix, and it's a 50-50 blend of a haymaker barley, which is what we would normally use to just make hay, and then a black oil sunflower, so the big large black sunflowers that we grow in the field for oil or meal. And I mix that up myself, and I sell this blended mix right now to other small-scale producers and those that have these feathered ladies in their backyard. It's part of our Feed Your Flock sprouting system that I've come up with, and it's just a simple kit so far that's allowed others to get really good eggs and save over 30% right now. I'm saving almost 50% the way I'm doing it. But real quick, I want to remind you, if you enjoyed this show so far, or if there is anything you want to hear, please leave a comment, send me an email over at Sean@ThinkingOutsideTheSoil. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the show so I know what it is that I got to do to serve you better. So, in the episode on barley, I got nerdy with you and told you some of the history of that ancient crop. And just a quick recap, it's from Egypt and the Tibetan Plateau. And I mentioned earlier for the variety we use called haymaker, which is pretty indicative of the fact that it's used as an agricultural crop, and it's the most widely used crop in the world for agriculture. Almost 70% of the barley grown in the world goes to make feed for our animals. Now, as a hydroponic crop, it's also the most widely studied and also the most widely fed from a hydroponic perspective. But right now, it seems that most of the limelight is going towards the cattle industry. A lot of beef and dairymen are adopting this fodder, specifically in drought areas like we have here. We've been in a 30-plus year drought, and farmers are going out of business, having to cull their herds and kill their birds. So, it makes sense why some of these larger operators on a lot of land would be the first to adopt these things. So yesterday, I claimed that since there are so many chickens in the world, that every farmer should be looking towards hydroponic fodder. But I think that's been overlooked for a lot of reasons that are a little bit off topic today. But Pilgrim and Tyson are some of the largest producers in the world. So one thing I can say is that barley isn't normally fed to chickens as a raw grain. And that's because it does have some anti-nutritional properties that will make it less digestible for the chicken. So essentially, if you're feeding out barley grain, the chickens aren't able to digest all of it, so you're essentially wasting some of your money. But when we sprout it and when people ferment barley, That enzymatic activity inside of it will actually make the barley more nutritious than it was as a normal grain, or even when we go to process it. How nutritious the barley has been studied mostly in the Middle East, but it's early in the week and our brains are likely just turning on. So if you want that data, go head over to episode 12 on hydroponic barley. I also mentioned we do sunflower. Episode 17, I believe, talks about the hydroponic forb in greater detail as well. It's one of the crops that's not actually studied very well in regards to hydroponic fodder, and that's part of my motivation for applying for a USDA grant to study more of it. Because most of the data that we do have comes from our dryland researchers here on the Great Plains. So I think there'll be a great opportunity to collaborate, pick their brains, and dig into their research. Research is something that I love. I love to do it. I love to dig into it. I love to think, to make those correlations, to put things together. And when I was writing my book, I came to a lot of the same conclusions that the big companies like Hydrogreen and FarmTech did. That hydroponics is great to feed out to our livestock. So I saw with them specifically that hydroponic barley is great to feed cattle, and then seeing in the research how the barley was fed to chickens and how researchers got great eggs, I knew I was going to just choose the barley instead of the alfalfa clover, regardless of the cost at that, looking at it from that perspective. So I should say that not necessarily regardless of the cost. I'm not trying to throw money away, but that was a huge factor. It's much cheaper and more readily available. And the data is there, so I can validate what I'm doing a lot more than if I didn't have the data. And when I saw how nutritious sunflower was and how common that is fed in the industry, sunflower is a common songbird feed when fed as that seed. And yesterday, when I was talking about chickens for treats, mentioned that different types of seeds for treats. So sprouting sunflower seed only seemed logical, especially since most of what I was studying was the green matter of sunflower. The other thing that I saw during my research is that there's some evidence that the shells of sunflower have calcium, which is going to benefit their eggs and reduce my need to give them a calcium supplement. And the thing that I heard from my patrons that clued me into that was them saying they had to hit their eggs on the counter or the bowl a couple times to get them to crack. That told me there's got to be something more than just what I see in the data. And after I started telling everybody about this, the local agronomist, her name's Kat Caswell, she urged me to apply for this grant. And she told me that the small-scale producers here in Weld County are wildly interested in hydroponic fodder to help mitigate their challenges with drought. I'm looking at the sun coming up here, and I'm reminded of my Hawaiian mentor, Dr. Harry Ako. And he used to tell me that that industry worked much faster than science. And so after speaking to the agronomist and thinking about Dr. Harry in my head, I began to feed my hens this blend of barley sunflower seed before I even applied for the grant. And I'm waiting to hear back from that. Hopefully sometime late January we'll know if that's where we're going to go. But that's all I have for you this morning. As always, I would love to hear or read your thoughts. If you've enjoyed today's episode or any of the other previous ones, let me know. Hit the like, subscribe, send an email, comment. Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and let me know what it is. I get on there and check out what we're doing so I can at least understand where I need to go when I'm talking to all of us. However, if you want to learn more about the things that I've talked about today or in the previous episodes, please head on over to thinkingoutsidethesoil.com. You can learn more about how hydroponic fodder helps farmers save water, improve livestock quality, and become better stewards. There's a free copy of my book if you cover the cost of shipping, and there's a place to sign up for the newsletter to stay in touch. You can get me in your inbox as well if you'd like. So don't miss out on this chance to join the next agricultural revolution. And thank you for being with us on this beautiful morning. Take care and have a lovely day. Hey, before you go, check out the links below. Leave me a rating and review and follow the show. Don't forget to get yourself some of our Blooming Health blended sprouting mix. Our mix has been shown to get the best eggs and create the healthiest flocks. With feed costs going up, right now's the time to lock in a subscription so that you can get the best eggs without having to go to the grocery store or the feed store anymore. Check out the links below to get yourself some Blooming Health blended sprouting mix.